Greetings to the esteemed guests and few followers of my channel. Today we have the Meteor 75 on review. I already had this drone for repair, then the MOSFET of the fourth motor failed. Today we will see why it ended up with me again. Well, while I'm inspecting the package, I suggest you listen to some music. Well, as always, in such cases, I recommend starting immediately by checking the drone and configurator. Connect the device to the computer and connect it to the configurator. If the device does not connect to the configurator for a long time, I advise you to either restart the configurator or reconnect the device. After a successful connection, pay attention to the firmware version and the internal memory capacity. Also, immediately after successfully connecting the device to the configurator, I advise you to immediately make a backup copy of firmware. But since this is my second time owning the device, I have a working backup copy of firmware. So I'll go straight to engine diagnostics, since this is the most common problem with such toothpicks. Since the batteries that came with the Meteor for testing are on charge, I will use my own battery from a well-known electronic device, because without battery power, the engine simply won't start. And as soon as I connected the battery, the configurator immediately saw all 4 motors, which indicates that at least the BB51 motor controllers are working. Further, I do not advise you to repeat what I did and still, on the recommendation of the configurator developers, remove the propellers on the engines and test the engines only with the propellers removed. And as soon as I pulled the slider of all the motors up a little, it became noticeable that the 4th motor was working intermittently in exactly the same way as last time. The most common reasons for this behavior in such devices, that is, in toothpicks, are contamination of connectors on the motors or a broken motor wire. In our case, it's the same burnout output MOSFET of the spoiler engine, the same one I changed last time. Then I will do some measurements and eventually replace the burnt MOSFET with a working one from the donor flight controller. And in order not to waste your time, I will speed up my work a bit. So, can the replacement of the donor MOSFET be considered successful for you? I would like to ask you to somehow evaluate this video, comment, and also subscribe to the channel. Thank you all.